Troy Martenson here, Remax Results, and welcome to another episode of my video blog. Today I'm here with Steve Erb, and we're going to discuss some commonly asked questions in lending. So, question I get sometimes is, how difficult is it to actually apply and qualify for a mortgage these days? Is it a big deal? Is it a 10-minute process? And can you do it online with Bell Banks?
Yeah, of course. Modern technology has made it very easy to apply for a mortgage these days. It takes about 10 minutes to actually do the worksheet online on my website.
Okay.
Then prior to that, though, I'd have a conversation with you, learn some more about your goals and what your goal is for your home purchase in the way of down payment and what you do for a living and all those kinds of things.
Credit, I suppose.
Credit is a big piece of it too, yeah.
You bet.
And then I direct you to my website, and it takes about 10 minutes to fill out the worksheet there. And once you submit your application, we get an email notification, and Audrey from my office will send you an email with a list of the stuff that we're looking for.
Sure.
Pay stubs and bank statements and tax returns and things like that. And it's really up to you or up to the buyer at that point how long the process takes to get to the pre-approval stage, which is what everybody's looking for. As soon as you can get me your documents, I can review them and we can issue a pre-approval letter usually within the same day.
Wow.
And you'll need that pre-approval letter, of course, to go with your offer to purchase.
Sure. Sounds like you guys have it pretty streamlined and pretty made it pretty easy.
Yeah, we do. Our team, the team that I'm on, really takes you through the process one step at a time.
Nice.
Makes a kind of a cumbersome, what could be a cumbersome process, easy.
Okay, good.
And we try to make it a little fun too.
Right. Well, you got to have a little fun. So, in your nearly 30 years in the lending industry, Steve, tell me why Bell Bank? Yeah.
Gosh, that sounds like a long time. Well, Bell Bank Mortgage is the oldest and largest privately held mortgage company in the Midwest. We were established in 1880.
Okay.
And we're what's known as a correspondent lender, which is a fancy word for a broker, a large broker.
Okay.
So we're in charge of the whole process ourselves, and we can shop with the national lenders on your behalf in order to get you the best rate available between all of the national lenders that we use. We call them investors that we sell some of our loans to.
So you collect the information from the buyer, and then you kind of go out and shop it to many different banks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then so once we establish what the best rate is, we can get that rate locked in. We can begin our process verifying income and assets and appraisal, title search. We have our own underwriting staff that approves the loans, and
they're right here local.
Right here locally.
Oh,
yep.
Nice.
Yep.
That's important.
And Bell has an excellent reputation in the real estate community with people like yourself.
Sure.
For getting the job done on time, all the time.
Good. That's good to know.
And because of that, the sellers in this market's kind of crazy. Because as you know, there's a bit of a shortage of inventory, which results in multiple offers on a lot of transactions.
Sellers want to know that the offer they receive is good and that buyer is going to be able to be financed.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
that's good.
We have relationships with many of the agents in town, have all had experience with Bell Mortgage, and it's all been positive, and so that kind of allows us to rise to the top, if you will.
Sure.
And ultimately increases the odds of the buyer's offer being accepted.
Sure.
Not necessarily even the highest offer. I've had offers accepted that weren't the highest offers, and because of our reputation, we got the offer accepted.
Sure, that makes sense. One question I often get from first-time home buyers and even second and third-time home buyers is, what are closing costs? So maybe you can shed a little light on that and help us understand kind of, you got your down payment, but then what are these closing costs and escrows, and help me understand that.
That's a great question. I like to kind of break it down into buckets, if you will. Bucket number one being the down payment, which can be as little as 3%.
Sure.
Bucket number two are the closing costs, which I like to say are fees for services rendered, which would include things like the appraisal, the title work,
Sure.
the title search, the mortgage registration tax, and
Sure.
all those kinds of fees would be what I would call closing costs.
Okay.
And then there's bucket number 3, which is where we fund your escrow account initially. And the escrow account's just a fancy name for a savings account that's attached to your mortgage.
Sure.
Of
Taxes,
which-
insurance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got to contribute, depending on which month the closing takes place, will dictate how many months of taxes we collect for the escrow. 'Cause taxes are due in May and October, and we have to make sure that there's enough money in there, plus a 2-month buffer for insurance and taxes to pay those bills when they come due.
Sure. Sure.
Typically speaking, it's about 6 months of property taxes in the first year of homeowners insurance, plus a couple months buffer of each one of those items, and some odd days interest. That goes into bucket number 3. So if we got the down payment, closing costs, and the escrows are the total costs associated with acquiring the property.
Sure.
Then we have credits for earnest money and any seller paid closing costs if there are any.
Yeah, it sounds like you'd really want a good qualified lender to kind of take care of these things, which brings me into my next question. Why Bell Banks, or why a local lender as opposed to 1-800-MORTGAGE or mortgage.com? And you've kind of said that. I mean, with some of the stuff you said, but why would somebody choose Bell Bank over 1-800 lender?
I would say service and reputation. As you well know, most of the transactions get negotiated in evenings and weekends, and it's important for a loan officer to be available during those times. And
Sure.
I've learned over my years of experience that in order to get a mortgage, you have to have a job, and most people work from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Right.
That leaves us with the opportunity to work for them in the evenings and on the weekends.
Yeah.
And a lot of those online lenders in the call centers aren't available when you need them the most, which is when you're negotiating an offer.
And in my experience, if something does come up in the transaction, you don't have a pinpoint person. You've just got, whoever answers the phone.
Yeah.
So they may not know that particular situation, or
And you have to tell your story all over again,
Right.
and that kind of feeds into the reputation piece, because before we get to processing your application, your offer needs to be accepted.
Right.
And I firmly believe that having a reputable local lender like Bell Bank Mortgage, with their letterhead on your pre-approval letter,
Right.
Increases your odds of getting your offer accepted. And which, when you look at 50 homes and you finally find the one that you want,
Right.
it's important to get it.
Right. Absolutely.
And you're going to need to stack the deck in your favor in order to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So I guess the last question I have for you, Steve, is what is one of the biggest challenges you think you faced as a lender, and maybe as buyers come in? What are one of the biggest challenges, and how do you overcome that challenge?
I would probably say credit.
Okay.
And
Is it understanding credit, or people's score, or just kind of the whole thing?
well, the whole thing, and I think that the biggest culprit of lower credit scores these days is what we call overutilization of revolving debt. So in other words, your credit cards are maxed out. Even if you make your payment on time,
Right.
your credit score is still going to be significantly lower than it would be if you manage that better. And
Sure.
what I mean by that is, if you have a credit card that has a $1,000 limit, you really don't want to have more than $200 charged on that credit card.
I see.
That makes up about 30% of your score is the debt to limit ratio.
Okay.
It's crucial.
Okay.
And of course, all the obvious things like late payments and judgments and bankruptcies, those collection accounts, those are all have a negative impact on your score as well. But
Sure. But the actual balance is a big deal.
yeah, it's
Okay.
huge. Yeah.
Interesting. And most people probably don't even understand that or know that.
They don't teach that in school. That's at the school of hard knocks.
Right. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being
Thank
here
you,
with me.
Troy. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. And you can, where can, I was just going to say, where can people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you? Do you have a website or an
Sure.
address or?
Yeah, my telephone number is 651-783-5220, and my website is just my name, steveerb.com. Happy to help.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And of course, you can reach me at troy@results.net, 612-308-3395. And thanks for watching my video blog. Have a great day.